So it's 8:06 a.m. It's the 18th of August. They're going to be doing this all day. They've been doing this day after day, but it got really hot. Caliente. They come and sit right by you. They sit on the bench, sit on that one. They act all cool. They have their phones. They're predominantly white. I see some Native Americans doing it, but this is right around you, okay? This hasn't stopped, but it got really hot yesterday and today. Now, there's a lot going on at this beach freak park that I'm forbidden beyond Cosmos from talking about, but it's so huge and so big and gigantic. The fact that they're doing that, to me, only helps the enemy. Okay, for example, I can say this. I was in the gazebo. One of the targets comes running in, okay? I can't say who, all right? And then one of these, it gets kind of strategic. One of these enemy guys, very covert, I get up because I can't be in this. I have to leave the gazebo. You know how I leave I sometimes sit there. I'm there for 3 minutes. I got to go because of this crap. So I get up to go, and right behind him, okay, comes a guy. I got to say something about him. He was very covert, so you couldn't really tell by his appearance. And he spoke to me. He said a few statements directly to me, but it wasn't to me. They're talking out loud, talking to me. They're using me logistically, and sometimes it could be audible. It's for what he was going to do to this guy in the gazebo. Do you get it? So every one of these idiots, they're using me, okay? The enemy, they know they all come and sit. They'll be like right there, behind me on the bench, right there, right there, right there. It's stupid. It is really stupid. For a while, they had a lot of power here. When the oligarchs got crushed and the white neo-Nazi ruling class, the ones that gave everybody these computer wizards and shit, that gave everybody this crap on their phones, by rank, start to get crushed. They're still doing what they think is emanating power. This is our Northwest Territories. This is our Alaska. This is our Idaho. This is our Washington State. We're going to take the country. We're going to take the country with Ukraine, with the country of Syria. We have our Arabs. We have our white neo-Nazis. We have Trump. We have Biden. We have the office of the presidency. And we know Trump and Biden, when they started engaging in atrocities in the Capitol and attacking their own enlisted military members, they didn't really have any legitimate power. We know that. Okay, so some of this is premised on the fact that they want to keep our legal system. They need that, right? They need those judges, those dirty cops. So therefore, your premise is you're keeping the legal system. Okay, so that's the precedence here. So, okay, terrorism is illegal then, right? Right, so then Donald Trump, for example, will write an EO empowering his insurrecting police to go hunt terrorists. It's with the top cats, the high rankers that are issuing and analyzing when and how to use ICBMs. I'm not. Remember, we covered that. The top cats, therefore, then veto his EOs, and I will write something like, let me wipe my ass with your EO. It's kind of crude and grotesque, some of the things I say, but it makes the point. Your EO is my toilet paper, Trump. All right, but it's because it's clear, because the top cats who are very sober-minded and don't write Twitter messages like that. You follow this after 10 years. So I get really sick of this. But I knew it was coming today, and it's supposed to be really intense today with the sitting by me. They're also coming with cameras, and the ones that come with cameras are in their 60s, and they'll come and stand right by you with a big old fucking camera like 2 feet, and they've been doing it since yesterday. Just out of nowhere. Look, we'll discuss how they come with cameras But it's a big thing with the big black National Geographic tourist camera, and they're all the same age. This is just tiring. It's pitiful. And then you have I can't talk about them because they're like some of the main targets. But you have your individuals that are they've gone crazy with the stuff and things on their phones. Crazy with it. You've got them just tromping around. And so what they seem like to me is, remember the Viet Cong? Because it's urban warfare. The Viet Cong, okay, if United States wouldn't have been neo-Nazi, because we are still neo-Nazi, and we wouldn't have tried to wipe out communism. That's our only motive with that. North Korea and the Vietnamese War. We dragged our good men into a war, and they gave their lives for a war over a political ideology. The men in the North Korean War and North Korea were blessed, good souls that go to a better place. They are good souls. They did not need to give their lives in that war. I'm not disrespecting that they died. I'm saying, as a political leader, you don't drag your humans into a useless war over politics. I am not denigrating their life or their death. I'm honoring it. If we would have gone to China in the 60s and discussed anything at a talking table with China, the events of Vietnam would not have happened and world history would be drastically different. But we had to take up arms against communists and get ourselves in a war with Russia, frickin' Vietnam. And we did the same thing with Russia and North Korea. We should have, with intelligent thought, stayed out of that and negotiated it. The Viet Cong, a great amount. 80% of them were fighting for communism. The other 20% of them were like what is happening here in the United States. They were fighting for drugs. They're fighting for prostitution. They're fighting for money. They're not fighting for any sort of political ideology. What we have here in the United States is a whitewash, is a term of speech, a whitewash, a blanket of individuals in urban warfare that are fighting for their drug habit and for their savings account that's being smuggled to them by the country of Syria, by Arabic organized crime, so they can be drug traffickers, drug dealers, drug abusers, pimps, with the big Visa gold card. That is their motive for what they're doing, and I can't describe who they are. So they're like the Viet Cong. You got all these savages running around in urban warfare that have weapons, that have their military force, insurrecting cops, cooping military. It's exactly the same when you go down the checkpoints. But they're not doing it for any political ideology. They're not even doing it for race ideology. They're doing it for drugs. I've seen so many people, especially in the capital, die for drugs. Just die for fucking crystal meth. Die for fucking coke. That's what they went into that compound for, and they died for it. Mexican drug cartel, Brazilian, Colombian. It was really bad. Those ones were really freaking dangerous. Some of those were paramilitaries. I'll never forget it. How scared legitimately I was. They had ropes. They were coming down on ropes. I'll describe it later at night. What are you fucking gonna do? I was way over my head at that point. If anybody knows, all right, I know what the U.S., loyal to the United States, loyal to their sovereign territory, has done to save and fight for their country, okay? I come to the Northwest and I've really seen it. I see those mountains, the Canadian border, the Pacific Ocean. I really got a real eye-opening to this. thousands and thousands of enlisted service members. Now, the ones that are, I don't know what the top cats are going to do, but they're in San Diego. They keep radicalizing all these folks here. You'll see them here in Seattle and Port Townsend Peninsula. The Navy there is the Cooping Navy. That's where, as far as I know, I don't know status today, but they think they're coming back to a ship there. No, I wouldn't do that. All right. Who knows who's on that boat, right? I know. Dressed in the U.S. uniform. That's one thing that they're going to be prosecuted for. They give them uniforms. Syrians, Iranians, Iranian Guard, Palestinian Hamas wears the uniform. Whoever wants it. And they get on the boat. Come here. Okay, so today at the park, I'm just supposed to have a lot of them sit by me. I'm just, sitting here. It is really disturbing now. I was supposed to film her and give an eye-opening to what it's like. They'll come sit there. They're just coming right into your personal space. There's tactical, logistical reasons for it, but it's over. It's over. Once the oligarchs and these military groups got crushed, your crap here with your urban warfare and your sitting and your stalking and your other people who I can't describe because I need to stay safe, they just keep doing it, which is very textbook of terror groups. You go to the Middle East and that's how they operate there. You'll find them operating like that there in Iran. You'll find them operating like that all over in Syria. They have their women, they have their kids, everybody's joining the chant. The Hamas is huge like that. Their whole families get obliterated with military missile strikes because they just don't stop. They're all over the villages or the town. It's exactly the same here. The only difference is they're white. In the Middle East is kind of the same sentiment. They're not all religiously driven Muslim terrorists anymore. No, they're not. They're heavily addicted to drugs. A lot of the Afghanistanian, they're on heroin and crystal meth. It's the same as with their African Boko Haram. A lot of them, are heavily addicted to drugs and immersed in drug trafficking. So they become very similar to the Viet Cong, engaged in urban warfare. So that's what I'm trying to say. The Viet Cong were embarrassing to China. Now, if we could have come to China in the 60s and just had an adult conversation with them, they could have put in the proper people and everything they need to do with their expertise and dealt with that uprising. Now, they would have implemented communism, but the death and the tyranny and the war would have been, you think it wouldn't happen? China would have dealt with that probably in about 6 months and it would have been over. But you'd have to have another communist country, and this country vowed to the death to fight communism. So with respect and honor and admiration for the service members who were drafted and who were enlisted that died and gave their lives in Vietnam and North Korea, I say this with nothing but the deepest respect and love. But let's not repeat history. Let's not go fighting foreign countries just because of their political ideology. Now, when they become terrorists and they're plotting and planning terrorist attacks against men, women, and children at the mall, at the grocery store, at airports, and this is any race that's doing it. This is white, this is Arab, this is black, this is Asian, any sort of people in a terror group, then you need to clamp it down. You need to remove the terrorists off the planet. But otherwise, you really need to negotiate. So they're going to come here all day, sit by me, bring their cameras, do all this shit. What I can speak and what I can report is limited because of the fact that they have moving targets here. Like that guy in the gazebo. One of the guys, I explained it, went following him right in. That's why I got out of the gazebo. It's really fluid here, but I, of course, can't talk about one word. So this comes off on the internet the way that it comes off. All right, what I was supposed to do was film her. That was the whole point of this. And since I was filming with an ear plugged and an infestation of seagulls, I tried to explain some of the macro elements to this. The urban warfare, the motive for it, drugs. It's a lot like the Viet Cong. The grotesque brutality, the corpses, the putting them in, putting the dead bodies. This is just fucking disgusting, okay? But you get this savagery when you let any sort of rebel group do a lot of drugs and lose their logic and reason to any sort of combat they're engaging in. So they start stuffing the bodies in big metal bins and on and on and on, okay? You get it? The Vietnamese Viet Cong had communist and Russian generals advising them, but there was a huge amount of triad of just Vietnamese drug traffickers, and that's why it was out of control. And no, nobody liked the Vietnamese initially. When Vietnam took Saigon and they declared Vietnam over and they pushed out the US and they implemented communism, China could finally get in there and put in decent political leaders, weed out the rebel military members. And what they're doing is stabilizing the government of Vietnam because they're on a border with them. They're in the same territory region with them. The fact that we did that was appalling. And we brought in all these chemical weapons. Does anybody remember the napalm, the Agent Orange? What the fuck were we doing? No disrespect for the people who lost their lives to these. It was Americans and Vietnamese, okay? All right, but that's the same shit we're dealing with here. It is almost a copy, and I can't really get into details. So if they want to stalk and sit, this is fucking disgraceful here. Don't forget, the chemical weapon that was used on me yesterday at the totem pole is the very same chemical weapon that makes my lip really, really swollen the following day when it's working its way out of my body. They want to use that here for 7 weeks every day. It's coming out of the country of Syria. I'm forbidden from talking about Syria, forbidden from talking about anything that, in my opinion, is actually good stuff. But I can't, okay? But this shit is being used on me. You can visibly see it, the effects. It's outside now, and at that point when they're doing that, I have to stop talking about it on the internet. All right, bye.